Greetings, everybody. Yesterday, I got an email from a YouTube creator automatic bot thingamajigger, and it said, "Congratulations, have 1,000 minutes of people watching your videos." And that's kind of interesting because I watch a lot of people's videos on YouTube who have got thousands of videos as opposed to thousands of minutes. And I'm thinking, well, it's still an interesting threshold because I've started to put videos up in the last couple of months. And I've never really had any expectations. I really haven't had any business objectives, and I still don't have any business objectives. What I wanted to talk about today is why I'm doing these videos, and a little bit about the technology, and a little bit about the process of doing these videos, and a little bit about the difference between YouTube videos and cinema or movies. That's what I want to talk about. So if this were cinema, it would be lit differently. I have spent some time back in the days when I was a young photographer studying photography at art school in Nova Scotia, dealing with lighting and lighting techniques and key light and spotlight and front light and shadow light and all this kind of stuff. And I do know about lighting, but what I can tell you is that right now this is lit with the curtain beside me being closed, adding a nice diffuse lighting. Sitting in the dining room, so behind me you can see the wall of the living room. To my left, camera right, is the kitchen. You might be able to hear the refrigerator. So it's not exactly a well-designed studio, so to speak. As you can see, I have a microphone hanging from my head. It's the earpiece plugged into my iPhone, which is recording the audio. To my right is my MacBook Air, which is allowing me to monitor briefly how the video is going. Yep, it's still going. And then what I'm looking at is my Sony a7 III. And today I'm actually using the kit lens that came with it, just for the heck of it, because it was there. So I'm using that setup, and I'm sitting in my living room. And a lot of YouTube people have little studio things set up where they'll have their camera set up and their lighting set up, and they'll just come down, sit down and do their video. And they will go through the trouble of setting up fancy lighting, and that's good. So they're halfway to doing cinema and halfway to doing YouTube. Several years ago when I was working in my most recent job, we were talking a lot about doing videos for the internet. And at that time, the idea was to be succinct, quick, to the point, and have videos be no longer than 2 minutes. One take, no cuts, just go straight across the whole video. And that was the idea. And they wanted to make it look informal, so it was done on a phone, typically an iPhone or an Android of some sort or other. And it was even shot in portrait mode, so that it would really look unprofessional, because it was unprofessional. And the idea was that you wanted it to look authentic. And to make it look authentic, you didn't want it to look really heavily processed, which was the idea. But we got rid of the idea of making it look like as if it was not thought about too much, more extemporaneous, because the manager and directors at the time wanted to have titles on it. So of course, as soon as you start putting titles on it, it blows away the fact that you're not trying to edit the thing. So that meant that, well, we're putting titles on it, so let's try to add some more quality into it. And then we ended up doing a little higher quality shots. Not too high quality, mind you, but quality. So the idea of doing jump cuts, which is what there are a lot of in this little video, there are a lot of jump cuts. And normally, if an actor in the video, in movie, makes an error, they'll stop and do it over until he gets it straight. So that's why YouTube videos have a certain look about them that cinema doesn't, or movies don't. There's a whole other thing about color grading, which is really important apparently. I did some videos where I was trying to do some color grading and thought it was a waste of time, so I'm not going to do any of that anymore. So this is just straight shot out of the camera with straight video. The other thing is like, why am I doing these videos? Well, I started doing it because I realized people don't read anymore, but they do watch a lot of YouTube. YouTube is becoming a huge consumer of media. And I thought that I did have some stories that were kind of interesting because of my background as having grown up with arthrogryposis, having had 36 operations as a child between 0 and 13 in the hospital for sick children. So I've had a lot of experiences, and I thought that some of those experiences would be informative, would be interesting for kids who are disabled, would be interesting stories for adults of kids who are disabled. Maybe as a bit of a motivational thing that, look, this guy's had 36 operations and he seemed to have done okay. He's been married for 46 years. He's got a couple of kids. The kids are doing great. They got spouses, they got jobs, they got careers. One of them lives in Japan, the other lives here. They're all over the place having a good time. And he's had a really good career in high technology and communications and marketing and the rest of it. Ran his own business. So maybe his story is worth telling. So that's why I started telling these little vignettes of stories about walking and falling and riding, and I've got a whole list of other stories I want to tell, which is why I'm doing these little videos. If you know somebody who you think might like these videos, well, send it to them. Say, hey, take a look at these videos. Send them YouTube videos, or send it through Facebook or however you want. I'm not going to be monetizing these videos because you have to get up into the thousands of views to make any money, and even at that point, the money you make is pretty meaningless until you get into hundreds of thousands of views. And I don't suspect I'll ever be getting hundreds of thousands of views, and that's, like I said at the beginning, I don't have any objectives or anticipations about what I'm going to get out of these things, other than maybe some people will find them interesting and amusing and pass them on, and maybe some kid, living in Hearst, God knows where I was born, or Cochrane, where my family was from, or Stratford, where I grew up, or Charlottetown, where I grew up, or who knows where, likes these stories and starts sending them around to their friends who are in situations as I mentioned earlier. So that's all I got for now. Thank you for watching, and have a great day. Cheers.